It's the human problem of sacrifice now for the future. It's the marshmallow test in real life. It's, can I sacrifice now for a better future? And it's just, sometimes you end up sacrificing your future for now, and you don't even realize. So one of the things that I'm struggling with right now is the balance between balancing my social life and balancing locking into my goals. I'm struggling with kind of spending time with friends and family and prioritizing the things that I'm trying to chase. And I do think it's a balancing act, because I always think that your goals and your lifestyle are going to clash heads at one point. You're going to be chasing down something you want to achieve, but the lifestyle you're currently living may not allow you to do that to the best of your ability. And this is where the question of what is optimal and what does optimal mean to you? Optimally, I should probably not be going out socially. I should probably not be going and spending time with friends and family. I should probably be putting all of my effort into my work and into the training and into the recovery that's going to help me get towards my goals. I understand that. But then optimal to some degree is all about your performance. So if we go off of performance as our metric, the main thing we're trying to keep an eye on and to measure, what is the output that we are getting from the momentary or the bit of time that we are spending on that thing? So if I go to do something, if I go to my training session or I go to do some work and I'm not fully into it, I'm not fully committed to the work that I am doing, the question would come about, which is, well, is this actually productive for me? And is the performance and the output that I'm getting worth the amount of time that I'm putting into this? You do need rest and recovery to allow you to perform the best. This is why training 2 sessions a day, 7 days a week won't get you further than someone who may be training only 5 or 6 days a week. It's because the rest and recovery is just as important, if not more as important, than the work itself. I think the one answer I've come up to in my life is periodizing. And in training, you periodize training by picking a goal. Say you are training to be a 100-meter sprinter at the Olympics and you have 4 years to train for it. Well, over those 4 years, we're going to pick and train different qualities. So then when it comes to that time of that 4 years time, the goal that we want, where are we going to be? And what qualities have we trained throughout that whole period of time? You don't have to train the 100-meter sprint when you're 4 years away, because we want to train the qualities that are going to allow that person to be a great 100-meter sprinter. Which means that throughout those 4 years, we'll focus on different things. It's a similar thing for life. So I think that there are times and seasons and points within your life and periods within your life where you need to focus on your goals, and there are periods within your life where you need to focus on social. And what I mean by that is, if I focus more on socializing, say I was going out dating and I put a lot of effort into dating, well, the amount of time I'm going to have to put into that will mean that I won't have time to put into other things. And this is why periodizing and choosing periods of time within your life to focus on certain things is the best bet. Right now for me, focusing on things like, it sounds really funny, but focusing on my training being number one and chasing those goals down is number one. Socializing is number 2 for me. And then my work is probably number 3. The reason I say that is because I'm in a period of my life right now where socializing is something that actually gives back to me a lot. Spending time with my friends and spending time with my family is filling my cup up. And right now, me doing those things is going to add to my life and add to my goals. But it still comes at the expense of maybe not being able to be 100% as I go into them. So this is where focusing on and knowing what you need to be able to achieve the things you're trying to achieve is really important. So I can still go socialize, but I don't necessarily have to go out and drink with my friends. I can go and spend time with friends and family, but I can make sure I've got my to-do list done first. I can have an event in an evening, but make sure that in the morning I get up earlier to do my work. It's all about this kind of give and take with your life, so you can try to fit in the things that you want, but having a priority and having some rules. Trying to get my 7 hours sleep every night. Trying to make sure I hit my nutritional goals. Trying to make sure, this is a non-negotiable, I hit my training sessions every week. It could be the choice between going out and having drinks with my mates, but knowing I've got to run tomorrow, I'm always going to do the run tomorrow, which means that the socializing on the evening takes a back seat. Prioritize what's important to you and let everything else kind of fall below it, which means that when you do want to focus on your goals, you know what's most important and you know that you do that and prioritize that over absolutely everything. This kind of follows on to the second thing I'm struggling with, which is the balance between having structure in my life and spontaneity. I live on structure. My diary is color-coded to the point where I know when I'm doing classes, when I know I've got clients, when I know I've got client calls, when I know that I'm spending a period of my time focusing on working on the business, when my training sessions are. Like, I've even got written down when I'm going to email a certain person within my diary. I've got written down what I'm going to do in the evening, whether I'm going to read this evening or whether I'm going to watch a lecture. So I have this huge elements of structure. But then one quote I heard the other day was, inspiration is perishable and you should act on it as quickly as you can. What that means is when you have motivation or you feel inspired to do something, a creative endeavor, then I think there needs to be this huge drive to just allow yourself to do that thing and almost bat off all of the other things. And this is where you allow yourself this flexibility. When we talk about dieting, we talk about flexible dieting and we talk about basically rigid restraint. So being so rigid with your diet that you cannot go off. The people who are most rigid with their diet are the ones that normally do fail, whereas the ones that are more flexible are the ones that do achieve. So this is where you kind of set yourself some rules, which is I have a weekly to-do list that I have to get done within the week. Some of those things on the to-do list are a time-based thing. They have to be done by a certain deadline, which means that no matter what, I have to get those things done. To some degree, these would be like your urgent things. They're important, but they're urgent. So you may have to get them done every week without fail. And then you have creative endeavors. And creative endeavors, I don't like putting a timeline on it. I would rather spend a longer period of time putting effort into my writing, into creating content, into me making my videos. I would way rather allow the creative endeavor to just take as long as it needs to take. But then anything which is objective, something that is important, that is urgent, that has a set deadline, I make sure that those things get done each week. What I don't want to happen is things to be rushed. So I don't want to be in a state where I rush all of the things that I need to get done and just to get them over the line. I would rather have the time available to spend to do it. But this means that sometimes I would be up pretty late at night just editing a video because I've got into the flow of it. And I do believe that there isn't anything necessarily wrong with that. Going back to the first thing that I'm struggling with, the kind of balance between socializing and my work, or my socializing and my training. Having the priority of the thing which is most important to me will still dictate what I decide to allow myself to spontaneously do. We'll try again. And that is because I was up to 11 o'clock the other night and I was like, I got to be up at 7 to go and run. And if I don't go to sleep right now, I'm not going to get the 7-hour sleep that I need. So we need to go to bed. And I could have happily probably carried on for 3 or 4 hours because of the flow I was in. But again, the training's the priority at the moment. And I'm probably going to be in this state till September when I finish this 500-pound squat 5-minute mile. Obviously, I don't know when you guys will be seeing this, but 500-pound squat 5-minute mile in September. And if me and Jasper do well in the athletics competition this weekend coming, so the 30th of August, we may be able to go to finals. And if we do end up going to the finals, then I may be focused on my training all the way up to Christmas. Don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So the solution is just to have time blocked out within your diary to do certain tasks. Have some structure on things that are not movable. Anything that needs to be done, that you have a deadline for, get it done and out of the way. But if you go through these periods of time where you're inspired to do a piece of work, allow yourself the free flow to do that. But then have some time on a Saturday or a Sunday where you make sure you catch up on everything. So it's just about being structured enough that you know when and where you go and what you do each week, but also having that ability to just do whatever you need to do when the inspiration and the motivation comes. On a bit of a deeper note, I've been through this a lot on this channel already, the difference or the balance between being a strong man and being a man who feels his emotions. It's something I've always struggled with. People are like, you're too deep, you're too emotional, and I understand what they're saying, but again, it's me, and maybe I am the type of person who needs to learn to be a little bit stronger. I may be the type of person who needs to learn to, I don't know, be a little bit more resilient to things that come my way. But I do think that there is this, again, fine balance, because I have friends, I have family members, I have multiple people that I've spoke to that just suppress their emotions. So something happens to them, they feel something, but rather than feeling it, they just put it all the way down. We don't deal with that. We're going to deal with that at a different point. I'm very much someone who just allows myself to feel the things that I'm feeling, and I think that's kind of a good thing. So my car is probably the place that I've cried the most over this whole year. I'll put something on the radio, I'll put one of my favorite songs on, and I end up just bawling my eyes out as I sing along and drive. I think most of us have probably had the same experience there. And The reason that I'm actually come to the conclusion, which is I actually like the way that I process my emotions, is because allowing myself to feel and then for that feeling to kind of flow through me and then to let it go is the answer. That's the answer purely because if you don't allow yourself to feel it, it's going to be there and it's going to sit underneath the surface and it's going to manifest itself in multiple different ways where you're looking for distractions from things, where you can turn to things like drink and alcohol and drugs, drink and drugs, turning to alcohol, turning to sex, turning to porn, turning to all of these things which probably aren't necessarily healthy for us. Turning to training to distract you, to kind of pull you out of this dark place. And again, training's helped me through many a thing. But it's allowing myself to feel that stops it from coming out in areas that I don't necessarily want it to. Being able to feel what I'm feeling, I don't necessarily think is a bad thing anymore. I think allowing myself to note the emotion and note why I'm feeling it, and then to be able to pull myself up and go, right, come on, is actually probably a strength of mine. I think the solution, if you're struggling with this, if you are someone similar to me, you're quite an emotional person, you're a man who's quite emotional, who feels bad for being emotional because doesn't feel like a strong man, I would get you to think about other areas within your life that you are strong. So where do your strengths come from? I know for me, a lot of my strengths, obviously I have physical strength, which is going to help me in many ways to feel like I'm capable as a man. My physique is pretty good, and that in myself, feeling muscular, feeling bigger, fills me with a bit more confidence. My communication with people is really good. My empathy with others is extremely good. My ability to stay disciplined, that's a really strong trait. That's something that kind of comes up within me. I'm really good at writing and kind of expressing how I feel through writing and getting information across through writing. My strengths lie in having fun. My strengths lie in going deep. My strengths lie in talking with friends about things that they've never spoke to people about. My strengths don't just come from the fact that I don't get emotional. My strengths come from the fact that I am emotional. If you flip it and you don't allow yourself to look at what could possibly be your greatest weakness and your greatest strength, if you just think of it as a weakness and not as your strength, then you are probably missing out on 50% of the benefits that you could be getting from it. I've realized throughout this year that me being me is exactly the person that I should be. Me allowing myself to be emotional, to also then have this part of me, like I've said this before many a time, and I've got two parts to me, two sides. As a kid, like all of us, I was just an angry teenager who was just fighting. We'd go out in town and the goal was I'm going to get into a fight with someone because I need to prove to myself that I'm a big, strong man. That part of me, the anger part of me, that aggression, I kind of suppressed for a while. I didn't like that part of me because I didn't think that made me a good member of society. I didn't think that there was that part of me which actually was beneficial in any way. To some degree, it probably isn't. Destruction and going out and having fights and doing things like that is not healthy. It's not necessarily good. But that part of me has kind of come back up over this year. And there is a compassionate, caring, empathetic person which I like. And then there is the part of me, which is a part of me which will bite your nose off. And I say that because that anger side of me people don't see, because it's not something I like. But I know I have it, and that's okay. And allowing myself to feel angry when I feel it and not suppress that emotion has also been super important to me, because we learn either that anger is a bad thing, or we watch other people get angry and just tell ourselves that anger is a bad thing. But what if it could be something that you integrate into yourself, that aggression allows you to put it into a work project that you're really after, to put it into your training, to help you to achieve a goal, to give you that motivation to keep pushing. Like, you can utilize all of these emotions in a positive way if you allow yourself to just feel them, to learn from them, and then to push as we move forward. I do think the two sides of me, the anger, I'll bite your nose off side of me, and the super caring and compassionate side of me, they butt heads. Of course they're going to. But again, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. On a training note, one of the things I'm struggling with is the balance between the strength training and the running, and how they're affecting each other, and then how that means that I end up having bad sessions. You may find yourself going into the gym and one week you have a solid, amazingly good session, and then you go into the gym the next week and you have the worst session you ever had, and you can't work out why. And the balance between I squat heavy and then I do a lot of work on my legs to keep them strong and to keep them big, but then I go to run on a Wednesday and I have nothing in them. Super, super jarring, because then I will go and train on a Friday after the run on the Wednesday and I can't seem to lift what I wanted to lift. And it's like the running affects the lifting and the lifting affects the running, and hence why the challenge is almost bloody impossible. When I release this, I may even have completed the challenge, or I may not have, and I don't know, because I'm super worried, because right now there's probably about 30 people going to come down to the track and I don't even know if I'm going to get the 5-minute mile yet. I've run a 5:25, and to shave off 25 seconds from a mile is super difficult. I've got to shave off 6 seconds per 400 meters. That is ludicrous. And I got 4 weeks. Cheers to that. The solution to when your training is feeling rough might just be the fact that you are too fatigued. When I say too fatigued, I mean fatigue is the byproduct of the training. You are working really hard and your body is basically creating fitness. So as you train, you create some damage, or you go into a bit of a deficit, and then your body recovers, and then you kind of come back up, and you get this like recovery, but there's this fatigue element. So it's like, even though I'm getting fitter, because my fatigue's getting more and more, my fatigue's actually masking my fitness. So even though I have fitness that I can actually, I have it within me, because I'm so fatigued, I may not be able to express that. So one thing that's helped for me is to trust the taper. So I basically, the last 2 weeks, last Wednesday, or the Wednesday of this week just gone, I did a mile test where I got my 5:25, and the Wednesday before, I got a 20:49 5K. A 20-minute 49 5K, and which is ludicrous because I'm 95 kilos. But those two things felt really good, and that was because I dropped volume massively, so dropped fatigue massively as I went into those tests. This is great to know, and the reason this is great to know is to trust the taper. I hit a 215 kilo squat on Friday with 4 hours sleep after doing the mile test on the Wednesday. Like I was not in a state to be able to hit that 215, but I still managed to. That I'm taking as such a massive win. And that would be like what I would push you to think about, is like, take these things as a win, because like, if you can perform under fatigue, and what I would mean is, if you've done 3 or 4 weeks worth of training back to back to back, training hard, getting heavier, like the weights are getting heavier each week, you're getting stronger each week, there's a really good sign that you are actually doing the right things. Because yes, it may be super hard sessions, you may be like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 difficulty, but once you have a deload and a taper, you may get this springboard effect. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen when I do the test anyway, is that I would have dropped fatigue enough that somehow I get pushed over the line. But again, you will have either already known about this, or you'll see a video coming out about that. To finish, I want to talk about the struggle that I'm having with my goals being solely for me. I started this PT journey 5-6 years ago, and it was around the same time that me and my ex got together. And throughout us getting together, I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea, because I'm chasing this goals down and I want to do this PT stuff, and I don't know if it'll even ever work. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the things out of it that I want to, and that may mean that we spend a lot of time, or there's a lot of time that I won't be able to do the things that we necessarily want to do together. I won't have the money, I won't have the time available to do it, so maybe it's not a good idea. But we pushed through, and we were like, no, we'll make it work. And we did for a long period of time, we made it work. But the problem I struggled with is, it's really easy to suffer and to sacrifice your wants and needs for someone else, because it's way easier for you to do work when you're not the sole beneficiary of it. If I do something for someone else, I feel way better than just doing something for myself. There's this thing of like, there's no selfless, that every selfless act is selfish. There's no selfless selfish act, because I can do something for someone else, but I get something back tenfold from doing that. And when all of the goals and all of the life that I was trying to build was basically for myself, but for someone else, and for the life that we wanted to live together, the adjustment period to making that for me was super hard, because as much as I've grown over this year, there's still a massive part of me which wants a family and wants kids and wants that lifestyle, you know. I want to come home and have my kid run up to me as I enter the door screaming daddy. Like, I can't wait for that moment. I really can't wait for that moment. And that not being the thing that I'm going after anymore, or that not being something which is immediately apparent to me in the direction that I'm going, I found really hard, you know. And I think that's because you plan this version of your life out in your head that you want, right? And you sacrificed all the things that you do want to get you that thing. You end up working harder and longer, and you end up sacrificing spending time with that person, because by sacrificing time I can work more, and the working more will allow me to get the thing that I want, which is the time with the people. It sounds crazy, but it's the human problem of sacrifice now for the future. It's the marshmallow test in real life. It's, can I sacrifice now for a better future? And it's just, sometimes you end up sacrificing your future for now, and you don't even realize. The solution I've found for me to keep going and trying to continue to build the business and build the life was to write a letter to my future wife. A letter that I wrote in a way which is something she'll open on her wedding day, that I'll give to her on the day that we get married. Purely because, again, it's way easier to do something for someone else, even if they don't necessarily, I don't even know who they are right now. They're not even in my life. And that was just to kind of be like, look, I'm doing all of these things because I know that this will give us a life in the future. And again, this is the biggest bet I've ever made. I don't know if it will or not, but hey, you got to try, right? So I wrote the letter in a way which she'll open on our wedding day before she walks down the aisle. And that, to me, allowed me to then make it for me. If the thing I want most in my life is to have a happy family with a wife and kids, then I know to some degree I've got to be the man who deserves that, and is the man who is in a position to have that. To be that man, I need to do the work to become that man. On myself personally, my business professionally, but I need to do the work. And maybe right now I'm not that person. Maybe the Sam Barber line of, I had a dream where you told me I'm too young to be the type of man you'd keep. It's kind of where I'm at, you know? And that is something that I've struggled with. And I think, like, if any of you have gone for a similar thing, you'll understand that the purpose and the meaning is completely gone, and you need to find that again. You need to find that again, because you can't smoke your last cigarette, as Viktor Frankl says. Smoke your last cigarette, you've given up. There's a good chance that if you're watching this will be on a Sunday, and I stream every Sunday. We talk about all sorts. We go into loads of different topics. We'll look at motivational videos. We'll look through just different supplements. We'll stream and talk about loads of different topics. Come and join us. Come and join the community that we are building over there, because it's super nice. Like, the goal is just to help people and give people a place to go who are as emotional as me but want to get better, just like I do. And in an environment which is safe, and in an environment which is everyone having a joint goal, which is to allow yourself to be the juxtaposition of a emotionally strong man. I hope you can see that we are all human, and we all go through things. We're all struggling with things at different times, and it's completely normal. Just trying to look for some level of solution, trying to look for a way out, is always a great idea. Again, hopefully I see you on stream. My name's Charlie. This is What I Had in Mind. We will see you on the next one.